Hi my muddy people, welcome back. I'm Nat at Mud Magic. Thank you for joining me again for another Stevie the Wonder Wheel throwing session. Well, just one bowl. So I'm going to try and do the biggest bowl that I've ever done, which is 5 kilos, which is about 10 pounds. I think you can do the conversion, or I'll put it in the description if it works. So I have kind of centered it. So it's really hard without a strong arm thing to center 10 pounds of clay or 5 kilos of clay. So I've done my best. But a lot of people ask me how you center bigger pieces of clay. So what I do is the most I can comfortably, like easily, happily center is 2 kilos, about 4 pounds, I think, but 2 kilos of clay. So what I do is I always put my clay into 2 kilo lots. So 2 kilos, another 2, and then I had a 1 kilo. So I centered the 2 kilos, then I blobbed the second 2 kilos on top and re-centered the whole thing, and because the bottom's already centered, it's much easier. Then I put the last kilo on and did the same. So that is how I do it. That's my teacher taught me that little trick. So I am going to just go for it. This bat that I'm using is about the width that Freddie will take without kiln props. So that's why I use this one for bigger bowls, to give me a guide. So usually when I go for my bigger bowls, I do that V shape that I love, but I'm going to try and do a wider base and more of a bowl shaped bowl this time. So I don't know what's going to happen. So let's just go for it. So this is Ken 6 white clay. It's quite a hard clay, which when you're throwing big is good. Gives you more stability in the walls. So, gonna get a bigger base to start with. About there, I think. I can already see an air bubble. That is not how I want it to start. Let's just get rid of that. Yeah, okay. All right. So, I have no idea because I've never gone this big, but that looks about right to me. I'm going to go down in the center. As I said, it's not, you can see it's not perfectly centered, but it's too hard with such a big piece. So hopefully I can just correct it, cut the top off, whatever I need to do to get a bowl out of it. It's being such a dry clay, you've got to use a fair bit of force for all of these steps as well. So as you know, I don't edit, so I will just be plodding along. I'm not going to rush, because if I rush I'll make mistakes and get nervous. So I'm just going to take my time and have some fun with it. You can see how I do it. Might give you something different to try. Everybody throws just that little bit different to each other. Just find what works for you, as I always say. Now this is why I always do a bit of a thicker base, because I can press so much through pulling out, especially with a big piece. Okay, got another air bubble there. That's because you attach all the those different lumps of clay together. You can get air bubbles, but that's okay. Just get rid of them, pop them and get rid of them. Clay going everywhere. All over you guys even. Lots of water. Okay. It's getting very dry. Oh, I hope this works. If you're watching, it at least was salvageable, even if it didn't properly work. As you know, I don't mind putting up those that are not that perfect because it helps to give tips on how to save things like air bubbles. Just pop them and fill in the air hole and keep going, and it can cause your rim to be a bit of a mess, but I'm already expecting the rim of this to be not too great because it's such a big piece of clay and so hard to center. Right, so I'm just going to compress that a lot. What? Because that's such a big bowl, such a wide base, it's almost like a plate. If you don't compress it a lot, you're going to get S cracks and worse cracks. Let's get another air bubble. Doesn't surprise me at all with everything I went through centering it. That's why I don't show you me centering it. It's not pretty. Now, as you'd be able to see from there, all this clay here and hardly any here. So my first few, well, I don't know, movements with it is just getting some clay up and evening out. I don't call it pulls, it's not pulls, it's more almost collaring in a way. Evening things out. What? And when you throw large, you can't worry about getting messy. Overflow. Won't have Stevie for much longer, it's very sad. I'm going to have Stevie take 2. I'll probably still call my new wheel Stevie, but I'm sick of using this bat converter. I want one with bat pins. And if I converted Stevie, I would void my warranty. So I've decided it's only going to cost me, after I sell him, about $300 difference, which is probably a lot just to get bat pins, but it's going to make the world of difference to me. So it's worth it to me. It was bad advice when I first bought him. I asked a lot of people, including the store where I got him from, and everybody told me don't buy a bat pin wheel because you the bat pins stop you being able to then throw without bat pins. Like if you just want to throw straight on the wheel, you can probably remove them, but they get clogged in with clay and stuff. So I didn't. I took their advice, and I never ever throw without bats. Never. I have not thrown on the wheel head since class. Since having him, I never throw on the wheel head. So I made the decision, and I can't wait. So he's gonna arrive within about a month, they say. So I don't know why I do that or how I pick that up, but I push in under from both sides like that. Find it's less likely to push it off center. And then trying to get all this clay up on such a big piece of clay is very hard. Pretend you're pulling into the center of the piece when you're pulling. Any shape, any size clay you're pulling, regardless of what you're going for, mugs, bowls, anything, you always want them to be going in like a volcano, like that. Oh, it's a very wonky rim, but as I said, I knew it would be. I'm not worried about that. Because if you centrifugal force or whatever they call it, if you let your clay go out, it's just going to go out and flop on you. So you want to keep it coming inwards until you're ready to shape it. Unless you're on a plate, that's about the only time you wouldn't, but for anything else. And with the bigger pieces of clay, you want your wheels going slower as well for the same reason. It's such a big piece of clay. You're fighting against that outward going force, and it's quite hard. Take your time with it. Look at that rim. But as I've said to you guys before, there's no point cutting it off now, because the very next pull I do, it's going to wobble straight back like that again. So all you're going to do is waste height and waste clay if I cut it off now. So there is no point. Always try to attach my hands where I can. It's obviously very difficult with such a big piece of clay. It's actually, I know you guys are probably looking at it thinking it's terrible, but it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be that way. I just run the rib over it. So it's always good with throwing larger to reinforce your walls. It also gives you a feel for weak spots. Pushing quite hard with that rib. With such a big piece of clay, again, everything is done so much harder and so much with so much more force with a bigger piece. Well, with a Keen 6 clay anyway. I don't know about with softer clay. I wish we had the choices. We don't. So, well, I definitely don't, because Keen's is a 20-minute drive from me. I'm very lucky. So I don't have to pay shipping, but I also don't have the choice of what clay to use. So I do love this clay, but it is a very hard clay. If I throw with it reclaimed, it's nice because it's softer. The Keen's 33, for any of my Aussie friends, the Keen's 33, where I learnt to throw, that's what they give their beginners to learn on, which is a buff clay. That's the one I do my koala mugs on normally. It's a lot softer, a lot softer. I just wedged up a heap to do a big bowl in that, not this big, just my normal big bowl. And yeah, it's so much easier to wedge. It's just so much nicer. Well, not so much nicer. I do love the 6 white, but it's just easier because it's so soft to deal with. So, I'm getting nervous now. Can you tell I'm taking more time with it now? It's starting to get a bit thinner. Now you are better to keep your rim a bit thicker because you want to stretch it out, which I kind of haven't really done, so I'm probably going to have a bit of a thin rim, but that's alright. First attempt with such a big piece of clay. I tell you what, centering it was not fun. If I was going to do this as a regular thing, I would look into the strong arms. Again, being in Australia, way too expensive to get anything here. Not that I've looked into them, but I imagine, because they're American, I think. But there could be an Australian company that makes a similar product. They're often, when something comes out, there often is. So might start letting it bowl itself a bit now. Kind of straighten it up a bit the first pull, the first shaping pull, and then I have no idea what shape I'm going to make it, so you're about to find out with me what shape it's going to be. I mean, you might know from the thumbnail. Maybe this time I'll make the thumbnail just the lump of clay so you don't get a preview. If it is a lump of clay, that was me laughing when I was setting the thumbnail. So we ought to know that I was having a laugh. Alright, I think we should start stretching you out. keep your walls nice and wet. I'm still pulling as well, just not as much. It's more about shaping now. It's gonna be a very different shape to me, for me, if it survives. So I'm not used to doing this kind of shape at all. I'm used to the V shape, as I was saying, the straight edged V shape, but I'm liking this already. I should probably start using a rib to shape it now, because as I said, I'll just turn you a bit, the rib will strengthen the wall as well. You can see as you go over it, it gets rid of the throw lines and just sort of compresses the wall a bit, which is good. And I didn't end up cutting off that rim. I probably should have, but you know, everybody says, yeah, nobody who looks at a bowl at the markets or whatever, or even if you keep it yourself on your table, is going to know, unless it's really bad, because like you can see now the rim. If I stop the wheel, you can't. And you're not about to put it, well, unless you put it on one of those Lazy Susan spinning things. Other than that, you're not about to see that it's got a wonky rim. So unless it's really bad, if it's really bad, well, not even really bad, I often will cut the rim off, but I didn't today. I'm not really sure how far I can push this, because as I say, I haven't done this shape before, but I want it to be, I'm going to get rid of some of that clay. I want it to be obviously a nice shape, going to this much effort. I want it to be, oh, a bowl. Very nerve-wracking getting to this point, because it's when you start pushing out the shape that you can lose it. You can also, and I might as well, see how it feels. You can also leave it until it dries up and sets up a bit before you keep pushing the shape and come back to it later. I can just leave it on the back and put it back on the wheel. Another beauty of throwing with bats. But I certainly don't like that shape, that's straight. As you can see, very, very, very straight. I want it to be a lot more bold than that, but I also don't want to hurt it. So it's hard, it's so hard. Let's see, let's push it, right? It's just clay, right? Well, when it's 5 kilos, it's hard to say it's just clay. I can feel right there, there's a weak spot. Right there. It's really good having that camera there. I've said that to you before, because you can really see what you're doing, because from the top here it's actually a really nice shaped, really bowl shaped bowl, and I really like it. But when I look at the camera, the angle that you're looking at, I didn't like it at all. So it's interesting. I wonder if I can, no, I lost my towel. See if I can, I've tried to do this before. See if I can show you what I mean. So you can see the shape there. It's a very straight shape. But if you look at it from where I'm looking at, if you can It's actually a really nice bowl shape. So I mean, you know, a lot of that can be gotten fixed at trimming, so you don't have to worry too much, but I still want it to be pretty. So bit more, which inside it looks really nice. Maybe we need to give him more of a tummy. Yeah, it's getting a bit dry, all that ribbing. The shape inside, as I said, but plus I'm trying to get it a bit wider so that it is the width of the bat, which it pretty much is actually, which is great. I've never got to that width before. Well, when you're using more clay, I suppose. I'm starting to feel really unhappy at the top there, so I'm going to stop. Wouldn't that be horrible if right now I went flop? So I'm going to stop. Stop playing. You've got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them with pottery, and I know to hold him. So I will have more of a look at that as he dries. I'm really happy with him. I really like him. So I'm going to, I'll play with him more trimming to get more of a shape to him on the outside. But let's just have a look on the inside. I can show you. I think I can show you. There's a lot of water. Pull the water out. Okay, and then I'll give you actually, because I've got to take measure here. Let's see how big he is. So he is 35 centimeters. This ruler doesn't do inches because I'm in Australia, but divided by 2.5 inches. 35 centimeters by about 16 centimeters divided by 2.5. That's it. So I'll show you his let's see if I can flick you around. No, I can't. There's no flick around, so I'll just do these ones again. So there he is. Definitely the widest bowl I've done. So that's it. So thank you for joining me. Again, like and subscribe, even if you get any little tips from this. I would love that. So thanks for joining. Stay muddy and have a magic day. Bye.